Welcome back to a new inspirational video, you beautiful people. Today I wanted to talk about a chapter from the book Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Behrend. I had this in my schedule for months now, and I never got to it, but today there were a few paragraphs that I wanted to share with you because they can blow your mind if you really grasp what they mean. So in the first chapter, she's talking about the order of visualization. And an interesting thing to know is that she was a student of Thomas Troward, who I shared some concept about in the past, but I will do some more of his work in the near future, because he was on another level. Although many times when you read his works, you kind of have to go over it a couple times, because to me, at least personally, it seems very deep and maybe sometimes complicating the way the words or the wording that he used in order to describe the power of the mind. But his student Genevieve Behrend actually did it in a lot easier, easier to grasp for most people, I suppose. So she started out the chapter by saying the following: the exercise of the visualizing faculty keeps your mind in order and attracts to you the things you need to make life more enjoyable in an orderly way. If you train yourself in the practice of deliberately picturing your desire and carefully examining your picture, you will soon find that your thoughts and desires proceed in a more orderly procession than ever before. Having reached a state of ordered mentality, you are no longer in a constant state of mental hurry. Hurry is fear and consequently destructive. In other words, when your understanding grasps the power to visualize your heart's desire and hold it with your will, it attracts to you all things requisite to the fulfillment of that picture by the harmonious vibrations of the law of attraction. You realize that since order is heaven's first law and visualization places things in their natural order, then it must be a heavenly thing to visualize. See, that's at the start of her chapter. I want you to really think about that. It must be a heavenly thing to visualize. How many people do you know in your personal life that actually say that they're visualizing to begin with? I can tell you that most people probably would say that they're never doing that at all. They're just going through their days every single day doing the same thing. They wake up in the morning, they have their alarm going off, they have to get ready for work or school or whatever it is. There's this set pattern that we follow. But following that pattern is alright, because we gotta make a living somehow, right? Because if you don't have money, you're screwed in Western society especially. I mean, in every society, but in some places it's more common than in the Western world, I suppose. But if we are talking about visualization, we are talking about waking up, or even before you get out of bed, when the mind is very relaxed, you close your eyes for a few seconds and you start to mentally see what sort of thing you want to achieve for yourself in your life. Now with me, that means I constantly wake up and temporarily, for a little bit, not even that long in my case, I just temporarily start thinking about my YouTube channels in this case and what I want to do with them. So I'm like, I always tell myself, it's kind of funny because I read this in the book of Robert Russell where he said, ideas float through the air looking for the right mental soil. Now that's a very interesting way of putting it, but when you start visualizing, you're actually preparing your own mind to receive better ideas. And that's why we want to visualize whenever we wake up. So with visualization, we mean seeing in your mind's eye the exact result that you're after. So what are we after? What are you after? Do you even know? Most people have a very vague goal. Like, I want to get rich. I want to do this. I want to go to that country. But then it's like they're thinking about it in a vague way. And this person, Genevieve Behrend, also said at the very beginning as well that if you train yourself in the practice of deliberately picturing your desire and carefully examining your picture, that right there, you might read right over it. Most people are not examining their picture. That's what I want you to start doing. It's what I'm doing myself. I keep analyzing what I'm doing in my world based on what I'm visualizing in my mind. You see how powerful that is. But are we actually doing that consciously on a daily basis? Again, most people aren't. Why? Well, because we're not trained to do so. I don't think there's any school on this planet that actually teaches children, for example, to do this, and with the advice that they should keep doing this as they're becoming adults. It's very bizarre, isn't it? Because now as adults we're discovering how powerful it is, but then realizing how ignorant we are at the same time, or how hard it is to change your mind about how you're living your life based on old programming. The new programming of the mind, or in the old days they would call it the new age, the new thought, all ties back into using the mind in a certain way. So a little later on in the chapter, Genevieve wrote, Troward tells us that the great lesson he learned from the airplane and wireless communication is the triumph of principle over precedent, the working out of an idea to its logical conclusion in spite of accumulated contrary testimony of all past experience. With such an example before you, you must realize that there are still greater secrets to be disclosed. Also, that you hold the key within yourself with which to unlock the secret chamber that contains your heart's desire. All that is necessary in order that you may use this key and make your life exactly what you wish it to be is a careful inquiry into the unseen causes which stand back of every external and visible condition. Then bring these unseen causes into harmony with your conception, and you will find that you can make practical working realities of possibilities which at present seem but fantastic dreams. I can confirm that this really is true because many of the things that I'm doing and keep doing first originated in my mind. But it happens in your life as well. It happens for everyone in that manner. The problem is, if we're not aware of this process to begin with, we can't really work with it consciously in the right way. Look at all the people out there that are currently successful, achieving big things. You can see them going, you see them working on big projects, day in and out. Others stand by the sidelines and wondering, how are they able to do that? How is this guy or woman so talented? How are they capable of doing all these different things? How are they capable of doing all these big things? Well, it's because they all have their mind in an organized state. They have it focused and aimed at what they really want to achieve. They're very clear within their own consciousness on what it is that they want. As long as we're not clear on where we want to go, well, where are we going to go? It's like getting in your car and not knowing where you're going. You're just driving all over the place because you figured, well, I just wanted to drive. I just wanted to ride around town without a purpose in mind, without a location in mind. Well, that's how we're living our lives if we don't watch out. We're just going through it all the way until we hit the grave without actually achieving a thing. Now, you don't have to necessarily achieve big things as a human being. It's not that one person is better than the other just because they achieved more things in the eyes of the world. But it is true that most people become very unhappy and they don't understand their own unhappiness because in reality, their actual soul, their heart's desires aren't being executed throughout their lives. And that's kind of tragic that most people, they have these desires, but they're almost afraid of admitting what they are or looking at them inside their minds. But yet, if they start visualizing it in detail, they are changing their minds into the sort of, consciousness, and you could say the sort of mentality starts to develop that you need to have in order to actually achieve it physically as well. And that's how it happened for me with YouTube. I remember years ago, almost a decade ago by now, if I were to make videos, for example, I would be very self-conscious about what I was doing. Have you ever had the experience where you would be recording a video of yourself and you look back at it and you kind of cringe? You're like, it's kind of weird seeing myself or hearing myself on camera. Most people know and of this experience. They've had this experience. Maybe you still have it to this day. I don't know. That is what I had for a little while, but now I don't care. Now it's totally normal. But again, it's because I've adjusted my mind and kept visualizing myself being a YouTuber over and over and over again until my mind started to build a conviction around that concept, where it was like I built determination. I think that's the better word to use. I became determined to just be that person and to be that in life and to just express myself in that manner, even again if other people might still find it weird, because there are people who are always finding it weird what you do anyway. Well, a little later on in the chapter, Genevieve also talked about the Wright brothers, and she said the following about them. Those Wright brothers that worked on the airplane knew what they wanted and kept their pictures constantly before them. Now transportation through the air is developing rapidly, and we all feel sure it will in the near future become as ordinary a method of travel as the automobile. Well, that's true, but because this was written over 100 years ago. By now it's all totally normal. Getting on a plane, going to a different continent, it's only a couple hours away. Well, depending on which country you go to, it might be a little longer, where it feels like it's a crazy long plane ride. But if you go from America to Europe, it's not that long. To Canada, not that long, but the distance is pretty huge. It's still almost 10,000 kilometers away. But yet it's totally normal to do that by now, in the 2000s. It's pretty interesting, so they were right. Now she said, in visualizing or making a mental picture, you are not endeavoring to change the laws of nature, you are fulfilling them. Your object in visualizing is to bring things into regular order, both mentally and physically. When you realize that this method of employing the creative power brings your desires, one after another, into practical material accomplishment, your confidence in the mysterious but unveiling law of attraction, which has its central power station in the very heart of your word picture, becomes supreme. Nothing can shake it. You never feel that it is necessary to take anything from anybody else. You have learned that asking and seeking have, as their correlatives, receiving and finding. You know that all you have to do is to start the plastic substance of the universe flowing into the thought molds your picture desire provides. Now those are kind of interesting terms, word picture. Again, most people have no idea what that means. But with word picture, after a decade of studying all of this material, I know with word picture they mean that you have a clear idea visualized in your mind, but that you can also describe almost in one sentence. That is the best way to put it. That is a word picture, that's a thought, but at the same time, it's also a picture. You see, thoughts are like words going on in your mind, but yet at the same time, they're also pictures. You see, that's interesting. It's what I was taught. You don't think in words. Whenever somebody would ask you to think of something, you think in pictures. But yet when you're thinking on your own, you sort of process them also as words. That's what we mean with a word picture. So what are the pictures inside your mind? Are they in harmony with your greatest heart's desires? If they are, you will grow in that direction, trust me. You see, when I first started studying this, I didn't think that was possible. I just didn't understand how could that actually be possible. But it was only on reflection, after I started analyzing my own life, I realized more and more I have already been doing this. You have already been doing this, and then it becomes really awesome once you really start to see that it is true. And then it becomes more a matter of, okay, where do I want to take this? How far do I want to take this in my world during my lifetime? Because you can take it very, very far if that's what you want. But not everybody wants that, and it doesn't matter. You just want to live a fulfilled life, and in order to do that, we're going to have to follow our own heart's desires by visualizing in the right way, by using our imagination in the right way, by seeing the end results of what we're after, holding it inside our minds with our willpower, and then doing everything that's necessary on the physical side of life in order to express the dream. There, that is the essence of the power of your own mind. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.